How we doing, team? Jason Hamilton here on a little bit of pool safety. I want to talk about 3 different ways to protect yourself when you put water in the pool. First, powered pool cover. A lot of my bigger jobs may have a powered pool cover, but what we're actually looking for is a way to mount a box 54 inches or higher. This one does not have a powered pool cover, but if it did, you would see it. On one of the ends, you'd see an open pocket, and it won't be in at the time final. It's done just after. But the key is to make sure that box is mounted 54 inches on the wall. And it's a key that can be removed. So as long as it's a high key, that is one option to keep you safe from the water. The option number 2 is obviously going to be pool fencing, okay? He's got it all the way around. Now, pool fencing is a 60-inch in Mesa, but what it is we do not want more than a 4-inch sphere in any way, shape, or form in the fencing itself, of the design. It's 60 inches from the exterior of the fence, not the inside. So that confuses people, because you're seeing 32 inches of fence right here, tops. That's not code, but there's a 10-foot drop on the back side. So when we're doing inspections on pool fencing, we want to make sure we kind of get an idea what's on the other side. There could be a ladder, as far as you know. So we're not looking over fences, but we're using common sense to say, hey, we need 60 inches from the top to the bottom. Now, here's where a lot of problems lie. You get into the bottom of the fence. The code calls out for 4 inches on a hard surface. That means concrete, paver, stuff like that. When we have a dirt surface or a landscape surface, code calls out for 2 inches, because what they don't want is you to dig out the landscape and now you can get underneath. So that's why there's a 2 and a 4-inch rule. So 4 inches is what we see a lot with hard surface. When you see just dirt, explain to them 2 inches. Use some common sense if they got pavers and stuff going in. Ask questions, make it happen. Obviously, our next option is what we see quite often, is basically these doors and windows and so forth. And we know when we look at a set of doors that we need a UL 2017 listed labeled alarm. We get that a lot. We see it a lot. We understand Teco. I got model numbers I can spit off. There's quite a few. We just want to make sure those are mounted at 54 inches or higher. The windows, a lot of the windows are incompliant, but Blanford Homes does a lot of this low side slide stuff. And at that point, we can't really put an alarm on it because there's only about a 1-foot tail from the alarm to the actual mechanism. So we have to sometimes do a track lock, which is an Allen key, the old thumb style that Grandma had in her track windows. Those aren't allowed. We need to actually have a keyed tool. That's why the Allen wrench comes into play. So a keyed tool on that track lock. So again, that's some of the things we're just looking for in the simple barriers as far as alarms, window locks, pool fencing, powered pool covers. But again, thanks for playing. Okay, team. On this next one, I want to teach you a little bit about the single door. So we got a handle that's high, 54 inches or higher. And obviously this door either needs to be self-closing, self-latching at 54 inches or higher, or it actually needs an alarm on the inside. Let's say the alarm is their option. No problem. Let's just say they want to do self-closing, self-latching. That's not a problem, but we have to understand that the door must swing away from the pool. And in this case, it does swing away from the pool. So it is an in-swing bathroom door that they can make self-close, self-latch. So the alarm is an option 1. Number 2, self-closing, self-latching, handle above 54, door swings away from the pool, just like gates. Thanks for playing. Okay, team, this is a little bit what we talked about earlier, these low slide windows. So you got a picture window here that's non-vented, and then your vented window at the bottom. When this happens, this window will slide over, and we want to make sure that that track lock gets put in so that this window can only open as much as 4 inches. So these are the low slide side dangerous windows that we're looking for. You see them a lot in Blanford Homes. I see them a lot in the custom homes. But when they talk about windows, that's what they're talking about. Because your standard window, your XO sliders, the manufacturer knows what egress is for window height, and they know The latches, they usually put a high and a low. Maybe a single hung will have a latch, but they always put them, especially for egress, 54 inches or higher. So we really take a look at those and we can move on. But these ones right here should catch you as a red flag, and we want to make sure we put a track lock with a tooled key. And or an alarm if they could make that happen, but in this case, there's no way. That alarm would be close. It'd be very close on this particular one. Thanks for playing. How you doing, team? Jason here again. I want to talk a little bit about bonding. A lot of our pull equipment, we will have a bond wire, which basically runs back to the halo loop. We want to make sure all of our equipment has a bond wire. If you can tug on it here and there, that'd be great, just to make sure that set screw's tight. So a lot of the pull heaters will have it. All your pull pumps will have it. It's just a little copper tab right there. There's going to be multiple pull pumps. You want to make sure they're all tied into the same system, and it'll come all the way back, and we don't have the electrical ready on this one yet. But that's what we're looking for. Don't forget about the bond wires, folks. That's pretty important because you have water and electric in the same component. So if there is a manufacturer failure, you're going to energize the water. And if the water is energized, you're probably okay to swim in it until you touch something ground. This way with the bond wire, it should automatically trip the GFI breaker, which this one's not ready yet. But all your breakers inside, you are looking for the little white box. We'll call it a GFI protector. Now, not on everything, but on pull pumps, pull heaters, whatever has water and electric will have a GFI breaker, which is the little white box. The difference is $8 breaker for a standard 2-pull, or $250 for a good GFI code required breaker. That's why they don't put them in, the cost. Also, middle of the summer, everything's running, hot as heck out, pulling a big draw, boom, trips the GFI. Contractor has to come out, he's angry, he pulls that breaker and he puts in a standard $8 2-pull breaker. Now the customer's not protected. So keep that in mind. We can't control everything, but we want to look for it out of the gate. Bond wires, breakers, breaker size, all that stuff is in here as well, but GFI more than anything. Thanks. Okay, team, we're back here again, and I want to talk to you a little bit about a garage service store. So here we are, we're in a Blandford development. Blandford is one of the developers that likes to do this, but it could be done by a homeowner or anything. But again, it's a garage service store, so obviously alarms are not allowed. It's a non-livable condition, so we now have basically a door that needs to be reversed, so it's in swing, self-close, self-latch, handle at 54 inches, and or this is a garage service door, so the fix behind this is to basically make this door unusable. It is not a means of egress. It is an option that some homes have, some homes do not. So I make them throw the deadbolt, screw it shut, blank plate it off, show me that this door is not going to be used in any way, shape, or form. Now, can that be reversed around and all that? Maybe, but at time of inspection, all barriers are in place. And that is very important when you're installing or you're putting notes in the system. It's very important that you put in the notes that all barriers are in place at time of inspection, because when we leave, we do not know what happens. And I do know what happens, but we don't want to talk about that. I also want to talk to you about these gates. So obviously the gate swings away from the pool, which is perfect. Self-close, self-latch. When you guys see these gate springs on the inside, that is a pull spring, and we do not want that. The manufacturer says that this should be face mounted on the front of the gate, and it is a twist coil spring. So if you can understand, they don't really make a pull spring that works for these gates. So this is what we're looking for. We see gate springs all the time. We want to make sure the latch, 54 inches, self-close, self-latch. Okay, folks. This is our newest thing for Mesa, okay? It's always been take it back to stucco and drywall. And now what we're gonna do is allow a metal plate. Now this one's 16 gauge plate with irreversible screws, one-way screws, call it what you want. These are the screws that are gonna be required for that metal plate. And most cities, municipalities will have a 16 gauge minimum. Mesa's not really requiring a specific gauge, but just make sure that we got a securement and it's a permanent, not a temporary fix. Tool required to remove it, okay? Thanks again, folks, for watching. Have a good day. Okay, team, time to talk a little bit of code. Obviously, we're on the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. We're on the 2018. Don't want to confuse you. It's a huge book, yeah. So you get to chapter 3 is really chapter that we focus on when we deal with residential in-ground pools. And this book covers commercial as well, all the way, chapter 8. But chapter 3 is what I'd like you guys to focus on a little bit when we're talking barriers. It's section 305. And 305, the whole chapter 3 is only about 6 pages long. So it's not, it's an easy read, put it that way. So just glance through it, get familiar with it. And again, this is the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code of 2018. The 24 is going to change quite a bit, and we'll talk about that when that time comes. But just get real familiar with the chapter 3 on the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. The other thing I want to show you guys, and a lot of other team members came up with this, and Kendra, a lot of others put a lot of time into this, but I really like this brochure. And the city's handed these out, and it breaks it down because are mesh pool fences allowed? Well, this is the created for an actual homeowner. This isn't a lot of code, doesn't really confuse them. It gives them their options, okay? So we really like to have these in our trucks. So when we do a pre-gun night and we have a crazy house or something, that somebody can go and flip this open and kind of get educated. And so you guys, feel free to read through and scan the QR code and send it, and however you want to use it, that's great. But as far as pool code goes, if there's anything you guys need, you let me know. If not, chapter 3 in the International Pool and Spa Code book will be your way to go. All right, thanks for playing.